fine anymore with this massive criminality. Unless we get to that point, they'll just keep going and going and going.
I think the most disturbing piece of some of the global changes, aside from altering and depreciating all the currencies and bankrupting countries and governments and all kinds of stuff like this, is that there are preparations to use technology chips to track all transactions.
Yes.
And that is highly, highly disturbing to me, that this has evolved to such a point where this is part of the agenda.
Yes, well, see, that's what digital technology makes possible. And in post-World War II period, with the explosion of digital technology over the last 50 to 60 years, the technology has gotten more refined with the passage of the years, and also it is spread over more and more of the planet to reach more and more members of the human race, so that now, I won't say all countries, but most countries of the world are tied in to this digital revolution, which is more and more intrusive, and it tracks us more and more in all kinds of ways, including economically. When you're born, you're given an identifying number in most countries of the world. In this country, it's the Social Security number, and then you get others. When you go to college, you get a student identifying number. When you get a driver's license, you get a driver's license number, and so forth. We have all of these numbers that are tied into electronic data banks. If you get a credit card, the credit card has a number, etc. And all of these numbers are entered into electronic data banks. They're tied to your name, to your life, to the particulars of your life, where you live, what you do, how much money you have, what you buy, where you go, when, how long you stay, what you purchase at the grocery store, where you went to school, what your grades were, on and on and on. Everything about you and your life is entered into these databases. And so they are tremendous social control mechanisms. And you're right, they are being used against people. They have that capability. They are being used against us. They are the way that the powers that be, who manage these huge governmental and corporate databases, they are the way that the powers that be use to control the herd.
Sorry to interrupt you, but if currencies go away and the governments have the right to track your every move, we're really in George Orwell's phenomenon that he described.
Then you have a hard decision to make, whether to live in the system or on the outside. And if you live on the outside, then you are going to be marginalized. You will be on the fringes of society. You will be an outcast. You will be someone who lives in the shadows. You will live. You will not be in mainstream society anymore. And so that'll be a decision. Essentially, you will have to decide: do I value my humanity more, or do I want to be a slave for the powers that be? It'll be that simple. And in fact, for a lot of people, that point has already been reached, and a lot of people are already heading for the exit and are, by choice, so to speak, marginalizing themselves and withdrawing from the system. So withdrawing from the system is a form of nonviolent, passive resistance or nonviolent non-cooperation with the powers that be and their central banking warfare model for subjugation and exploitation and vanquishing of the human race.
The fact that currencies are going to be removed, even as a line item of a goal list of the people in charge and the agencies in charge, makes so serious the fact that there will be no privacy anymore. And if, in fact, humanity is chipped, whether it's done through the body or you have to carry a card in which everything happens, there will be no way to have anonymity. And I know that there are people that say that if you desire anonymity, that means that you're hiding something. I don't agree with that. But I think with each breach of privacy, with each breach where, for example, our medical records are due to go online in 2014, Farrah Fawcett actually had her medical records sabotaged because they were electronically available. That's an example of everything being consolidated in a digital format. And the excuse is, well, it makes it easier for the hospitals. It makes it easier for the transfer of information. It's always about how it's easier and more streamlined. It's a terrible breach of privacy. It's a terrible breach against humanity. And the fact is that when people come from the paradigm that you should just offer it all up unless you have something to hide, that is not what it's about. I would say very few people have anything to hide. But the agencies that want all your information about everything in your life, that is a breach of humanity, period.
Well, it's a breach of your individuality. It's a breach of your sovereignty. And, there really is a split in the human race, so to speak, between the goats and the sheep, between the wheat and the tares. There are people who really want to be part of the Borg. They want to just relax into the matrix and be part of the collective, and to them, they love that. There are people who actually prefer to be a slave, to have their little middle class house, their little slave breeding hutch, if you will, where they can go in and breed in front of the television and have more little middle class slaves with their little middle class credit cards, little middle class cubicle job, and their little corporate skyscraper in downtown Chicago or New York or Dallas or Seattle or wherever, Denver. You see what I'm saying?
Well, look what's happening at the airports.
There are millions of people who relish slavery, who prefer to be a slave. I'm not talking to those people. Bow down and lick the hand that feeds you. I hope your chains won't callous your ankles and your wrists too much. I'm talking to the people who do want to be free. And to those people, I'm saying that now is the time. If you're going to do something, the time to act is before the last handcuff is clipped around your wrist, before the last cell door climbs shut behind you, and you're enslaved for all time to come with no hope of freedom whatsoever. We still do have a window of opportunity. I am recommending that if people act, they be creative when they act, and that they be nonviolent. And above all, peacefully withdraw support from this demonic, diabolical system that absolutely intends to enslave all of humanity, mind, body, and soul.
You're going to be traveling, and you're going to have to face the fact that they're going to want to get x-rays of your body. What are you going to do? You're going to ask to be strip searched?
I'm going to try to opt out of the x-ray. You can have a physical frisking instead of being x-rayed.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, I've been frisked. I've been strip searched. The government has my DNA. I've been fingerprinted more times than I can remember. So I'm already in all of their databases. I don't like it, but I am. But I'm still speaking out. In other words, we already live in a prison. And that's one thing that became clear to me when I was in jail. It already is a prison. The United States is a prison society.
That's a very, very hard thing to hear.
It's the truth. You are numbered up, down, and sideways. At any moment, you are subject to arrest for any reason, real or imagined. If the state cannot find that you violated any law, they're perfectly capable of setting you up on some trumped-up charge and paying people to testify falsely against you and or manufacturing so-called evidence. It happens all the time.
The right to detain a person indefinitely without counsel, to me, that was passed, I think, by executive order by Obama early on, was one of the scariest things I've ever come across in this country.
Yeah, most people in this country don't know and don't understand that what you just said is true. Virtually anyone in this country, citizen or non-citizen, is subject to arrest at almost any instant on a mere whim without any evidence, and you can essentially be deep-sixed. You can just disappear from the face of the earth into a secret prison. If need be, you can be flown by federal agents or private contractors to another country and incarcerated, tortured, and or killed with no one ever knowing what happened to you.
I think it was an executive order. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was.
Well, and you have to understand that some of these orders are secret.
I think this was public. Rachel Maddow did a piece on this. She was
Well,
outraged, horrified.
Thing is factual, and not only that, but there's now